Soft skills are fundamental to your future, my future, all of our futures. They're the number one thing that employers want, but also more importantly, they're going to help you fulfill your potential. And we've developed this really interesting, amazing, simple model that you're going to be able to kind of use, and just automatically, subconsciously, you'll become better at communicating, being creative, collaborating, all those kind of key things. So here's how we can help. So what are the 7 C's? Character, curiosity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, complex problem solving, creativity. Character is all about your attitude and your approach. It's the attributes you bring to something. So it's about being positive, having a growth mentality, being resilient, but also taking into account other people, being sensitive and aware, and kind of working in a way that really reflects you and your character. So how can you develop your character? Well, so much of it is about developing your growth mentality. And what I mean by that is being open and being able to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, trying to be brave, trying to recognize how you can move forward and fulfill your potential. And there's a really easy way that you can do that. Whenever you start a project, just kind of take a look at yourself a little bit of self-reflection. Think about your strengths, you know, what you might bring to it, but also think about maybe areas where you're not so strong and maybe you're going to need some kind of support, or you're going to need to really step up. The more you get to know yourself and understand yourself, the better you'll be able to develop your character. But it's also about treating yourself in a holistic way, about being kind to yourself, about having positive mental health, about having a balance, about not overworking. It's also about thinking about things like emotional intelligence. Now, character is such a huge subject, we can't cover it all in this short video, but we're going to be doing another lecture or another series about character, and we're going to be giving you lots of tips and tools and techniques and habits to help you develop your character and your growth mentality. So curiosity is one of those skills that we don't really think about, but there was some amazing research by Harvard that showed it was one of the number one attributes of top C-suite executives. So what is curiosity? Well, basically it's about looking for insights and innovation and inspiration. It's about trying to find things that give you answers or suggest answers, you know, ideas that you can remix and take to new places. It's about being open and again having that kind of growth mentality. It's also about trying to look at the past or look at the future or understand what's going on in the present moment with the zeitgeist. So, you know, it's politics, it's news, it's culture, it's trends, it's things like that. And the reality is the more that you do those things, the more naturally you're just going to have all of the other skills, you know, better critical thinking, you're going to be more creative. But what's a really simple way in which you can develop your curiosity? I would say one of the things you need to do is just to look for ideas and also look for problems. So if you see something, it doesn't matter where you are, if you're in the supermarket and something isn't quite working, or somebody's had a new idea, or there's a new bit of packaging, or there's a new brand or something like that, just wherever you are, when you're at the cinema, when you're listening to music, being curious and also going beyond the mainstream. So kind of going to places that feel different and new and exciting. So much of curiosity and critical thinking and creativity comes from things that are being done by independents, by artists, by people who are kind of trying to disrupt and not be conformist. So just look for ideas, look for ways in which people are solving problems in fresh, innovative ways, and look for inspiration. And you'll naturally be more curious, and your soft skills will develop alongside that. So critical thinking is so important. It's kind of critical in our incredibly chaotic, disruptive, constantly changing world. We're living through so many innovations, so many technological changes, but also so much kind of polarization and disruption. And what is critical thinking? Well, essentially it's how you look at something and try to determine whether it's true, whether it's valid, whether it's authentic. It's deconstructing things, pulling them apart, so trying to understand whether, you know, somebody has a vested interest in saying this, or somebody is trying to kind of get one over on you. It's something that we all need to develop, particularly as we enter into a world where it's very hard to know what is truthful, and that's truthful in terms of words and images and people. So how can you develop your critical thinking? One of the things I think that you can use AI in a positive way for is to really try and develop your critical thinking when you're using AI. Whether it's, you want to call it prompt engineering or contextual briefing, you want to be in a situation where you're constantly checking and validating and honing things. So, you know, before you even start in using AI, write down some key questions. You know, is this authentic? Does this feel cliched? Is it stereotyped? Where are these images come from? Constantly question and question and question. Better questions are fundamental to all of the soft skills, but they're particularly important with critical thinking because it's about deconstructing, pulling things apart, and trying to understand how they work. So communication is naturally incredibly important. It's what makes us human. You know, telling stories, trying to persuade people, influence people, trying to kind of communicate our feelings, our ideas, our senses. But it's also one of those things that's becoming increasingly important to kind of help you be future-proof. So it's about influencing and persuading people. It's understanding what's going to engage them, what they're going to remember, what's going to be exciting. It's about not trying to give across too much information, but kind of having clear takeaways and calls to action. So much of this really comes down to the planning before you even begin to communicate. It's understanding what will make somebody believe what you're saying. So collaboration is a fundamental skill. You know, we're social animals. We're about making connections. And working in teams, working in groups to solve problems is a really key part of that. There was an amazing collaboration behind me with Nathan Dawes and Window Kid. And it's like, why are you having kind of like, you know, hip hop artist and you're having, you know, a chip shop? Because it kind of makes things different, it adds value, makes it distinctive, it kind of feels special. So I would always encourage people as much as possible, I do it with my students, I do it with my corporate clients, to kind of work in teams, to collaborate, to try and solve problems together. Because different people have different strengths, they have different approaches, they have different ideas. And by working together, we can kind of learn from each other, it can rub off on us, we can almost automatically come up and create ideas that are bigger than the sum of their parts. So collaboration is really important. And if you want to begin to collaborate really clearly, one thing to do is almost kind of when you start working together is work out what your strengths and needs are, work out what your objectives are for the project, who's going to work on what are the roles and responsibilities. Just take a little bit of time to think about how you're going to collaborate and how much collaborating kind of can add value to what you do. So creativity is one of the most fundamental skills. All the others kind of connect with it, critical thinking and communication and collaboration and that kind of thing. And actually in 10 million job adverts, LinkedIn did some research, it was the #1 skill that employers were looking for. But we don't really learn it, we don't really necessarily understand how it works or how we can be more creative. And we've developed some simple habits that you can adopt and you can practice and you can take part that are going to instantly help you be more creative. And one of them is remixing or stealing or just taking ideas, looking for ideas all of the time and then thinking, how could I kind of mix that up a little bit? How could I put one idea with another idea? Where did that idea come from? Does it work? Could it be more successful? How can I kind of work with other people to improve it? So a habit you want to develop is kind of looking for ideas, trying to find them, becoming a bit of an idea hunter, an idea detective, and then look at how you can remix them and kind of steal them, change them, move them around a little bit. Jean-Luc Godard, an amazing kind of French director, had this brilliant phrase. He said, it's not where you take things from, it's where you take them to. So just get out there and hunt for great ideas, pull them apart a little bit, and you'll instantly be more creative. So everything is about problem solving. And all of the other skills that we're going to talk about in the 7 C's help you solve those problems, whether it's collaborating with other people or being more creative or being curious or learning how you're going to communicate things. They all contribute to complex problem solving. And if you look at this space, that's what we're doing. We're trying to work out, you know, where are people going to sit? Where are the artists going to be? Where are we going to have events? What we're going to do about the heating and the music and the noise and all that kind of stuff. How are we going to create something that's really interesting? What's the brand going to be like? Who's going to work here? How are we going to make sure that it's safe and secure? All of those things, loads and loads and loads of problems, some of them quite complex, that you use all of your skills together to kind of make easier and to make things happen. So you can see that the 7 C's is really about how you future-proof yourself and how you really kind of upskill yourself to fulfill your true potential. So that's a brief overview of the 7 C's, and we're going to be giving you loads of content and building a community about how you can really become an active, independent learner. So follow us for more content. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments, and we'll see you soon.